So I'm kind of curious just because I'm well aware a lot of fans don't have a strong confidence level in this football team, but I'm kind of curious what your expectations are for them just as a general whole. Because I can tell you right now, I think the expectation in that building is still, oh, we're a Super Bowl contender. And even though they lost those two pretty rough games on the road, but I think that's still the sense they have in the building. And I see a lot of people who, whenever they're like, "Oh, we'll be seven," have anywhere from 7 to 8, 9 wins, maybe. But I think everyone gets fired if that happens, as they should when you consider the roster and things like that. But I'm going to tell you about like just what I think they're expecting, at least before the bye or going into the bye, so to speak. So you have Week 7 at Detroit. They lost last night, so they're now 2-2-1. That's an 11 a.m. game, so nothing new. But you can't. You're still in must-win mode in Detroit because you can't go 0-3 in the NFC North play, especially when you're talking all three of the road games. Cannot do. So that's still a must-win, regardless if they won or lost last night. And then I think a lot of things would be said if they were to lose to a currently 1-5 Redskin team on Thursday night at home, and then you have the tough 2-game road stretch of Chiefs and then Jerry World, and Jerry World being at Sunday night game, Chief being 11 a.m. game. So I think you need to probably go 1-1 there. You can't lose both. And then you play the Denver Broncos, who are 2-4, and that's at home. So maybe just do what you're probably supposed to do anyway. Like I think we learn a lot about this team before the bye because, well, like there are 3 games that's like usually there are these Zimmer teams that are good, but they aren't always up to snuff, and you can always find the game, 2 or 3 games that usually find it. And I think it's those 3 road games right there. So they're known as a better home team than road team, but you're going to have to go on the road every once in a while and win a game in decent to good teams' territory, so to speak. And Detroit, probably going to be very loud. It's going to be a competitive environment. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they play there. And then you also have Chiefs and Dallas Cowboys also on the road back to back, when it's almost like even if you do beat Detroit and the Redskins, you almost need to at least beat one of those to be like prove you belong, because once again, we've seen this in the Zimmer past where it's like, yeah, but they hit that one team and then they just kind of don't show up. And so that's why I'm thinking they need to be competitive in both of those, but probably only have to win one. And then, like I said, Denver, you should be able to handle business, assuming you've done all of that. And this is a combined 12, 16, and 1 until the bye on week 12, as it stands right now. Right now, going into week 7, these teams are combined 12, 16, and 1, which is a losing record. So people should be happy about that, I guess. And so it's just interesting. Like, what do you guys expect, though? Because this team is a team that kind of looks to have to be 8-3 or 9-2 going into week 12 into the bye. And just almost in order to save jobs, I think, because once you switch quarterbacks like we did after going 13-3, 2 years of missed playoffs will not be tolerated, I don't think, especially when you look how talented this roster is. I know we complain about the offensive line isn't good enough, but at a certain point you would think, yeah, but not everybody can cover both Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Not everyone can cover those two while dealing with Dalvin Cook. And then that's when Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph can kind of get you. And I think at some point, you just have to look at that like you should be able to find a way to move the ball against these teams. Just because your offensive line isn't as great as some other ones, that's not really an excuse, because there's a lot of other teams that also have a pretty porous line. And they can do fine sometimes. So that's all I'm saying with that. Like, you also have a defense that doesn't really allow many points, where it's almost like if you get to 24, you can win the game. That's pretty realistic in Minnesota. If you get to 24, there's a good chance you win the game, and then that's all you have to do. At one point, it was 24-20 last week, and they were kind of coming back, but once again, they only got 20. If they stayed at 24, they win the game still. And 21 points is the most amount of points they've allowed this year in a game, which is kind of ridiculous given how offensive happy this league is trying to make it with all the rules and all that, all the good stuff. So I'm just kind of curious what everyone is expecting. Are you, based off of the record you have in your head, even if you do look at the schedule or not, just the general record, maybe, do you think everyone gets fired? Are they not? Do you think everyone should get fired? Because I really, 2 years of making it would not be tolerated. And I know your expectations may not match up with theirs, but they are going to be judged by their expectations of what this team can do, not what we think it can do. And part of me is kind of tired of not having expectations for this team. It's almost like I want this same expectation. We need to put this on them at the same time. It's like, no more of this, oh, that's unfortunate. Like, I feel like we have quite a few of those people every once in a while, but it's like, gee, that's unfortunate. On to next week. It's like, no, this is supposed to be a Super Bowl caliber team. That's what they did when they, or at least that was the thought when they acquired number 8. And whether or not that works out for them, so far people will say it hasn't. But you have 2 years left, and how the rest of the season really dictates on a whole lot of things. Whether or not Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback for next year even, or if Mike Zimmer is the head coach, if we still have Spielman, if we are going to be changing offensive systems again because we're just going to can everyone. And I think in order to keep things going smoothly, I really think we need to actually have these expectations for them. Because unless you guys want to start all over with a new head coach, whoever that may be, whether that's an experienced guy, like maybe they go get Mike McCarthy or some new guy who went and had McDonald's with McVay or whatever, do you really think we're going to instantly see this kind of success with this kind of roster? Because I'm not sure we do. We see a whole lot of players on defense that are really, really good that have been in the same system since 2015. And putting a new system on them might not be the easiest transition. So all of a sudden, the thing you're banking on to be good might not be that great anymore. And then you got to hope your offense can make up for that, whoever it is that comes in, because it'd probably be an offensive guy. So I really think we need to start having these same playoff Super Bowl expectations that they have, or else things might, just because I think that's how they're judging it. And it's like, ultimately, what we think, if we think this is a 7-win team, I don't think that really matters to them what they think the fans think this team should go. But I do know if they go 7-9, miss the playoffs, everyone's gone. And I don't know if that's necessarily a great thing. Now, I am just curious, just in general, like I said before. I want to know your expectations down there in the comments, and liking, subscribing, always good if you enjoy said content here. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.